Hey there, and welcome to year 5 of the outdoor hockey rink build. It's great to have you. My name's Pete, and in today's video we're going to walk through the process of how this rink was built from start to finish. We'll talk about some of the new features that were added, and we'll go over some rink maintenance tips and how we've dealt with all the warm weather we've had, as well as the snow and the wind. And please comment below. I'd love to hear about your outdoor rink projects or your experiences skating on outdoor rinks. I hope this video gives you some ideas and inspiration to lace up those skates and to find an outdoor rink or to build one. If you find the video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. The first step was to measure out a 120-foot long by 60-foot wide rectangle to prepare to put up the boards. To keep our boards nice and straight, I staked out each corner. I'll run string between each of the stakes and then use some spray paint to draw the line. Now this original area on our property had a 6-foot slope from one end to the other, so we brought in equipment to level for the rink in the year 1 and 2 builds. And each year's build has been documented, and they're linked to in the description if you'd like to see the process and the upgrades over the years. I measure in 7 foot 6 inches and make a mark in each corner, and this is where the corner boards will start. The next step was to start putting up the boards, and my hockey buddies Chase, Braden, and Christian stopped over to help out. We started from the far corner hash and began working clockwise around the rink, and the board system is super easy to assemble, and it goes together pretty quickly. We'll slide this into place, just like so. Slide this into place, and if you need to, you can hit it a couple times. And then we can put on the feet, just slide in just like this. Make sure that that rounded side is facing up. Okay, then we'll just flip it up. The black brackets are then staked into the ground to give additional support to the boards using 1/2-inch sticks of rebar. We continued laying out the 4-foot wide by 4-foot tall Nicerink boards around the perimeter and then assembling them. And once you get a hang of it, you'll get efficient with the process. You can order the black brackets with or without plastic spikes, and they work great, but if you don't get them in before the ground freezes, or if you have a lot of clay in your soil like we do, it can be a little more work to get them into the ground. So I decided to hack off the spikes this year to work better for our situation. My wife Britt and son Jack helped deliver the brackets to the guys, and then we worked to get the first corner up. As you can see, the boards connect to each other with pegs on one side that fit into the holes on the other, and the boards are able to pivot with the peg system to form the corners. Now, if you'd like more detailed instructions on how to set up the boards, you can check out the full tutorial video linked to in the description. The 4-foot tall board transitions to the 18-inch board by cutting it at an angle using a circular saw. It then snaps in place just like the others. And we forgot to put the white support brackets on the transition piece, but this shows how they'll look once they're on. The shorter 18-inch tall boards were then installed along the side closest to our house, and we decided to do the shorter boards here so we can more easily watch everyone skating from the house and to make it easy to get the snowblower on the ice. Then we moved back to the 4-foot tall boards, and having the taller boards along the ends is great for shooting and for keeping the puck in the rink.
The bottom needs to be pushed in just a tad.
There we go!
Oh my goodness. Holy smokes, boys.
Boom.
There we go. There we go.
Good work, boys.
Wow.
Now that the boards were up, we put the yellow bumpers on, which give it a professional look, padding, and a way to hold the liner in place. If you're putting the boards up well before it's time to fill, you'll most likely want to use stakes in every bracket so the wind doesn't blow them down if you get heavy winds in your area. The weight of the water will hold the boards rock solid once it's filled, but we put the boards up in October and didn't fill until mid-December, so we needed to make sure they could withstand the high winds before water went in. Since I needed so many stakes, I bought 20-foot sticks of half-inch rebar, and then I ordered a hydraulic rebar cutter for about $200 on Amazon that made cutting the rebar super easy. It made quick work of making all the stakes, and it saved me a lot of money on buying pre-cut ones. So as you see, what I ended up doing was putting 2 stakes in each white bracket, and then 1 stake in each black bracket. And then I found these orange caps to cover the rebar anywhere little kids might walk around. We store our boards outside on a pallet, and they were pretty dirty the last time we took them down, so Britt gave them a quick power wash to clean them up and make them look new again. A little pro tip here, if a board ever pops out of place because of a high spot or unlevel surface under the board, you can shim underneath it with a wood block and then use a couple ratchet straps to pull the board back in place. I've been using Nicerink boards for all 5 years of the build, and I got the taller 4-foot tall boys starting in year 4. High density plastic boards are certainly an investment. They are worth it in my opinion because they're super durable, they won't warp like wood, they're easy to put up, they stack for simple storage, and they give the rink a more professional look. Plus, they're made to last. Now, I grew up doing a rink with my dad and brothers as a kid, and we had a Nicerink resurfacer and a liner back in the 90s. So they've been around a long time. They're a great family business with a solid reputation, but definitely do your research and figure out the brand and board type that works best for you. The last season, we did short boards on each side of the rink, so adding the tall boards along 3 of the 4 sides was a new addition for year 5. All right, so to put the netting up, I have 5 10-foot stakes. And I'm just going to use a post hole pounder and pound them in at each location. Is that my little helper? I stretched the netting out and began putting each of the 10-foot tall fence stakes into the ground. These are a cheap and effective way to add netting behind each end and are available at most farm supply stores. To give the stakes a professional look, you can use foam pipe insulators around each post. Then it was time to hang the netting, and black zip ties work great for attaching it. You can pull the netting tight to prevent it from sagging. I have excess netting since I originally used shorter boards, but rolling up the excess keeps it off the ground and prevents snow from pulling it down. The first couple years, we ran a cable and strung it between the light posts. I moved the post pounder and ladder over to the other side of the rink, and then installed the posts and netting similar to the first side. Check out my hockey rink playlist or the link in the description for a more detailed video of the netting install if you're interested. When I was installing the rebar stakes, a subscriber reached out and recommended using a ground rod driver to make putting in the stakes much easier. So I ordered one, and I put in a few more stakes since I had already put most in already, but I wish I'd have had this earlier. It made quick work of putting in the stakes and was well worth the $20 attachment for my hammer drill. To protect the big window on the front of the warming house, I hang a 15-foot tall by 20-foot wide net with carabiners to eye hooks near the roof. You can pull it tight and then stake it to the ground so pucks will bounce right off of it. And this is the second line of defense behind the first net, and it's worked great the 2 years we've had it. And it's an easy way to protect any window or siding on a house. We have quite a few guests up to the rink in addition to friends and family, so we put a few signs up for visitors, and we started doing waivers the last couple of years just to be safe. We like to have everyone drive right up to the rink and warming house, so I built a bracket out of wood and put a sign up so skaters know where to go, and it appeared to do the job the last time the local college team stopped over to get in some pickup hockey. It was a beautiful day, so my little helper came out to test the commercial grade rope lights for the under ice LED lighting and to get everything ready to install. I started by taking measurements to find the center of the rink where the red line lighting and center circle will go. Then I measured from the center line to determine placement for the blue lines. The first thing you'll want to do is sneak your power cord underneath the board. I like to plug it in while I'm working with it so that I know that it's still working. The LED rope lighting is held in place using 4-inch long yard staples. I ordered these online and they worked much better than the thinner gauge staples I found at our local hardware store. I placed the white perimeter lighting about 6 to 8 inches in from the boards. and use the staples about every 8 to 10 feet or so. Now this is a brief overview of the under ice LED lighting process, but I have a more detailed video linked to in the description if you want to check it out. My buddy Christian helped roll out the lighting, and then we staked the red and blue lines in place. In the year 4 build, we had snow and cold weather much earlier, and it was about 10 degrees Fahrenheit when the lighting went in, so it was a lot harder to get the lighting to lay straight and uncoil. So doing it a little earlier this time made the process easier. A stake was put at the center of the rink as a pivot point for the measuring tape so we could draw out a 20-foot diameter center circle. The rope lighting was then installed, and we used the yard staples every couple feet to try and get the lighting to create the curve for the circle. I'd seen people playing ice tennis in a few Instagram videos last year, and it looked like a lot of fun, so we decided to add some additional under ice LED lighting to form a rectangle and to try out pickleball on our rink since it's a smaller court size and it's easier to play. It's set up so all the under ice LED lighting can be on just the pickleball court or the classic hockey rink markings. I used flags to mark the lights so we knew where they were since we started to get some light snow. The only big downside about putting in the lighting much earlier than filling the rink is that if it snows, you'll need to be very careful not to damage the lights if you need to shovel or snowball the area before the liner goes in. With all the under ice LED lighting, you'll be using quite a few extension cords and a couple surge protectors, so I used a tote box to organize the cords a bit better and to protect the plug-in areas. The forecasted temperatures were finally starting to look better for the pouring process, so I swept off the rope lighting and prepared the rink for the liner. Our son was 18 months old at the time, and he was beginning to get really interested in the rink and became quite a great little helper, so I started getting him involved with the project. The next morning, I broomed off remaining high spots and opened the liner to get it ready to install. It was a nice calm day, so my dad stopped over to help with getting the liner put in. We'll start by unrolling the liner a few feet and then draping it over the boards. Then it's just a matter of rolling it across the middle of the rink to the other end. We made sure there would be enough liner to go up and over the far side boards and then began spreading out the liner. You'll want to do this on a calm day, and usually somewhat early in the morning has worked well for us the last few years. You'll continue unfolding and pulling the liner until it drapes over all sides of the rink, then work around the perimeter to get all the wrinkles out as best as possible. I pulled the liner inside the netting on the ends and then took off my shoes to walk across the liner and push it into one of the corners to get some wrinkles out. We'll continue the tradition. Here's last season's water, and we'll use it to start off our 2023-24 season. I got about 200 feet of garden hose out and got set up for the pour. Now, a few years ago, we did use a water truck for the fill, but the water fill-up station is quite a ways from our house, and when it was all said and done, it did save us some time, but it was quite a process, and we decided it wasn't worth it. So the last 3 years, we've used our well and a basic hose. We started filling the rink on the 19th of December, which is a little later than we usually do because of the warm weather, and it's always a great feeling to finally be getting the rink filled. The water, of course, flows to the lowest areas first, and our rink is plus or minus about a couple inches, so it's pretty level. Once you get some water in it to weigh down the liner, it's a good idea to put on a few of the yellow bumpers to hold the liner in place and prevent the wind from blowing it around. When filling the rink, I really babysit it until the plastic is completely covered to make sure I don't get any unwanted wrinkles or bubbles under the liner. And as you can see, by that evening, there was a fair amount of the liner already covered. The plastic gets pushed tightly to the ground with the weight of the water, and you can see the LED rope lighting easily shines through it. I went out the next morning at 6 a.m. to check on things, and a wrinkle had formed. Now, a small wrinkle isn't a big deal since the water will eventually cover it, but this was a little bigger than I wanted, so I walked gingerly out on the liner with my muck boots and pulled out the wrinkle as best as possible. Once the water is covering the entire liner and pushing it at a 90-degree angle to the boards, you can trim the excess liner. And I like to do this as soon as possible so the wind doesn't cause issues if it starts to blow. Then you can go ahead and put more of the yellow bumpers on to hold the liner up. The next morning, the rink had about 3 to 4 inches of water, and it was starting to look really good. So I was able to trim the excess liner and install the remaining bumpers.
Yeah.
Should we measure? Looks like 5 inches there. About 5 inches. I checked on the rink early the next day, and it was getting close to being full. I shoot for an average of about 6 to 8 inches of water, which will ensure all the high spots are covered with plenty of ice. That evening, it was time to turn the water off, and it took about 3 full days to fill the rink. All right, it's about 5:30 in the morning, and I couldn't sleep anymore because I was just thinking about all this snow coming in. So, let's check out the rink here. It's never easy to find the perfect window of cold weather without snow in the forecast, and this year was no different. A little mountain storm had blown in that morning. The snow's still coming down, and the majority of the snow has melted into the water and turned into a slush, but it's a flat slush, which is nice, and so there hasn't been too much drifting, which could cause that slush to get really rough and at different levels throughout the ice. So looks like that could potentially melt in as well, but overall it's not too bad. And we lost the crystal clear ice, but besides that, I think it's gonna be fine. When we got back from visiting family over Christmas, we tested the ice to see if it was ready to walk on, and it typically takes between 4 to 6 days for ours to freeze, as long as we get some cold nights in the teens or lower 20s Fahrenheit. I pushed a shovel across the top of the ice to see what its condition was going to be, and it was a little bumpy, but not too bad. The next step was to get the power broom to clear the snow, and the power broom has been the best tool investment I've purchased for the rink, but before that I used a metal shovel, and that worked just fine. Here you can see the snow melted into the ice differently in some areas, and it created a bumpy and airy type finish on certain parts of the rink. The power broom gets down to the surface easily, and it shows what we have to work with. There was about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch difference in thickness where the problem areas were, and I started by getting out the hose and spraying the slushed area to seal it up. I'm using hot water to try and ease the transitions between the good ice and the slushed ice, but cold water would work all right if that's what's available. Next, I hooked the hose up to my Nicerink resurfacer, which disperses water evenly to create a new coat of ice, and we were getting ready to have some family and friends over the next day for a New Year's Eve party, so I wanted to get the ice skatable as soon as possible. Now, I resurfaced the ice 2 complete times, which sealed it up, and then it built up the lower areas to help smooth out the ice. And here's what it looked like after that second coat of resurfacing. It was already looking a lot better, and I'd let it freeze overnight. The next morning, we tried out the ice for the first time. Now, our biggest addition for the rink this year and for our family was to get to share the rink with our 1-year-old. And this was Jack's first time ever getting on the ice, and he absolutely loved it. And our goal this season was just to get him comfortable being out on the ice and to have fun out there. Later that morning, I trimmed the liner along the bottom of the tall boards with a razor blade. I kept it about a couple inches above ice level for the time being, but eventually I'll go back and trim closer to ice level. I think the hard surface of the boards looks a lot better than the baggy look of the liner, but you don't have to trim the liner if you don't want to. One of my favorite parts of the build each year is to hang up the flags. I'm a Minnesota Wild fan, but you guys have sent all the other team flags that are hung out at the rink. And a big thank you to Jeff Bernard from Las Vegas for sending the Vegas Knights Stanley Cup flag, and to Bruce Williams, a Seattle fan living in North Carolina, who sent in the Seattle Kraken flag this year. New Year's Eve arrived, and the rink was officially ready for its first skate. Some of the older kids got out on the ice to play some hockey. Of course, Jack saw the older kids and wanted to skate too, so we got him laced up for the first time and ready to go. Ready, Jack? You want to go ice skate? The ice ended up being pretty darn smooth for the first skate, and it was a great way to celebrate the last night of the year. Now, the kids and parents all got out on the ice, and we even tried out the new pickleball court. Jack had a lot of fun out on the rink and trying his new skates, and many of us were still skating out at the rink at midnight to ring in the new year. In mid-January, we had a week with temperatures between -10 and -30 degrees Fahrenheit and high winds, so we weren't outside a whole lot, but it finally started to warm up, and it was time to get the rink cleared off and ready for a night of playing some pickup hockey with the boys. So I figured I'd walk through the process of how we get the rink ready. If we have over an inch of snow out on the rink, the first thing I'll do is use the snowblower. And if it's calm outside, I'll start in the middle and work my way out, as you see in this video. But if the wind is blowing, I'll start from one side and blow everything in the same direction the wind is blowing. Snow blowing the rink after a storm generally takes around 35 to 50 minutes, depending on the amount of snow, and this time it took about 43 minutes. After snow blowing, I'll use the power broom to get right down to the ice surface. This is going to make the resurfacing process go much quicker and the ice will be smoother. Now, a metal tip shovel will essentially do the same thing. The broom does do a better job clearing all the snow and doing it quickly though. And this typically takes around 20 to 25 minutes. I'll get as close as I can to the boards with the power broom on the last pass around the rink, and then I'll use a shovel to lift the remaining snow up and over the boards. I love the taller 4-foot boards, but it's definitely more work to shovel over these versus the 18-inch tall boards. The next step is to go around the perimeter of the rink to get a good coat against the boards and melt any remaining snow. Then it's time to hook the hose up to the resurfacer. Usually I'll do one coat with the resurfacer, which takes about 25 minutes or so once the hoses are all set up. Now, it was around 10 degrees Fahrenheit, so I knew the new coat would freeze quickly, but I'll often resurface the evening before so it has time to cure overnight if the temperatures are warmer out. After the ice was done, I did a quick snow removal in the parking area, lit the wood stove, and was ready for the crew to show up. We try to get pickup games going as much as we can when the weather works out, and it's always a blast to get out on the ice with everyone. We don't always have goalies, but my buddy Ralphie volunteers to put on his goalie pads when he comes out, and it's a lot of fun to have someone in net. At the end of the night, we always do a quick clearing of the ice to get it ready for resurfacing, and we'll work on any problem areas if there are any. We skate up the ice pretty hard during pickup games, and sometimes a crack will open up, so Christian and Mike are working to pack an ice crack with some snow. It's very common to get cracks on outdoor rinks, and you'll most likely hear the ice settling and crack sometimes when you're resurfacing it. It can also happen when it gets so cold outside that the ice gets brittle and cracks. Here's what a crack looks like up close, and after packing the snow and creating a slush mixture, you can see the crack will mend back together and it's less of an issue. I'll show you the technique used on a hole that opened up in a second, but as you can see, that slushy mixture really does a good job fixing the crack. So there was a little pocket of air here, and it created about a 1-inch little divot, so I'm just gonna pack that with some slush. I'll use a bucket to get some snow and then have another bucket with water in it to mix with the snow and form a slush. Pack the hole with the slush and then flatten it out level with the rest of the ice using a trowel or something flat like a hockey puck. You'll want to let it harden overnight before skating on it. In addition to the cold weather, we had quite a few cycles of warm weather pass through, even hitting 50 degrees Fahrenheit in February, which is not usual for where we live. The ice would soften up and get slushy in areas and then create air-filled pockets, and then along the north end of the rink where the sun warmed up the boards, the ice turned into water. We even had some rain in February. The worst thing that can happen after a warm snap is to snow, and that's pretty much what happened after every warm spell. We'd get a heavy snow that would melt into the ice, so I'd always try and get it cleared off as soon as possible. Definitely slushy down there. See that? Getting the snow off will let the ice breathe and allow it to freeze up again when you get cold weather. Until then, we built a snowman and did some indoor training with our new sauce kit from Vinny and the crew at hockeysauce.com. Go! Can you say sauce? Yeah. Goal! Atta boy. More? Okay, we'll get some more. Once the rink had hardened up, I was able to get out the resurfacer, and I had to go super slow with the first coat to saturate the airy textured ice. It was kind of similar to the first coat of a wood stain, as the ice was really thirsty, but that first coat seals up the ice, and then the second coat goes on with ease. One of our favorite things about the ice rink is getting to share it with friends and family, and we had a lot of fun getting everyone together and watching the kids learn how to skate, shoot hockey pucks, and play together. We had another warm snap the next week, and I honestly thought the ice was going to be done, and it was only the 25th of February. So we played sauce inside and went to the indoor rink until we could try and revive it again.
Attaboy. One more.
More snow came down, so the rink was cleared, and it was looking pretty rough. The north side against the boards was definitely shot, but we were able to salvage 95% of the rink by sealing it with the first resurfacing coat and following up with the second coat, which made it look like new again and surprisingly brought it back to life. If you're wondering about the tractor resurfacer I built a few years ago, it was a fun machine and it worked all right, but it was a little small and underpowered to carry the water tank up the hill to the rink, and it needed some engine work, so I ended up just using the pull behind this year. I did look at getting a real Zamboni or ice resurfacing machine, but unfortunately I need a heated shop so the pipes don't freeze, and my wife didn't want it to go in our garage, so I haven't brought one home yet. Something I was curious about was how the taller boards would affect snow drifting into the rink, but it actually helped minimize the drifts quite a bit this year as it blew up to the 4-foot boards, but it kept the snow out more than when we had the shorter boards. Another upgrade this year was the ice pickleball court with under ice boundary lines, and it ended up being a hit. People were pretty skeptical, to be honest, but once they tried it, they were hooked, and it definitely works on your skating, your agility, and plus it's one heck of a workout. We of course play hockey most of the time, but this is a ton of fun and we love playing. Another fun upgrade the kids and adults all loved were the flash pucks, and these are basically rechargeable LED pucks that handle similar to a real puck, and they're super fun to pass and shoot at night, and they were definitely a hit with everyone. While the season started a little late and we had weeks where we couldn't skate, we still had a great year out there, and we were able to skate until March 9th, which was the last day the ice was hard enough, before melting and turning into Jack's splash pad. If you're curious about what happens to the rink after the ice melts, the boards are first taken down and stored on pallets, then the netting is taken down, and any remaining water on the liner will soak into the ground. The liner is then rolled up, and the LED lights are stored for next season. You may have noticed we didn't do a rink last year, and the reason we did not was because I tore my ACL playing men's league hockey in November of 2022, just before I was going to do the rink. So I had to have surgery, and I did the hamstring graft to fix it, and it ended up being a good year to take off from doing the rink, as we had a 6-month-old I got to spend more time with, and we also had a record snow year, which would have meant a lot more rink maintenance. So thanks for your patience in making the Year 5 build happen. All in all, it was another great year on the ODR, and I hope it was for you as well. Lots of little kids learned how to skate for the first time. We got to watch Jack progress and have fun out on the ice. We got in some pickup games, and then we always have a few fun, unexpected things that arise. Like Martin from Sweden, who sent a hat from their local hockey team named Örebro Hockey Ungdom, along with some Swedish chocolate bars and snacks. So thanks, Martin. And then a little write-up in the Wall Street Journal and a mention from the NHL during the NHL Discover ODR week, which was pretty cool. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed checking out the Year 5 rink build. If you did find it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and comment below and share with me about your rink project. All right, take care and cheers from Montana. you.